in the old days, you used a mortgage to finance the purchase of a home. The bank held the mortgage, you paid it down, eventually you got to own your own home. Okay, we completely changed that. Financial institutions issue these mortgage loans. They don't hold the mortgages. They package them together to serve as collateral behind securities. The securities then are used as collateral in order to obtain more loans to finance their purchases of assets. So the whole purpose of the mortgage was changed from, basically to help people buy homes to serve as the collateral behind what we can call layering of debt on debt on debt. The problem was that in the old days, they used U.S. government debt, treasuries, as the collateral behind further borrowing to finance their positions in assets. There wasn't enough government debt. Now, this might sound fairly crazy to most of your listeners because they think, oh, well, the U.S. is heavily indebted, the Treasury has issued way too much debt. But from the financial sector's point of view, there's not nearly enough U.S. treasuries out there. So they needed to find a relatively safe kind of collateral to hold. So in the beginning, they securitized relatively safe home mortgages. But there wasn't enough of that. So then they said, well, why don't we securitize some slightly riskier mortgages? And then that wasn't enough. Why don't we start securitizing subprime mortgages? That wasn't enough.
Hey, we got a homeless problem. Let's let this guy buy a house.
Yeah, so they continually lowered the standards required to get a mortgage and then continually lowered the standards for what kinds of mortgages could be securitized. They still didn't have enough. So what did they do? They started issuing securities whose backing is more securities. So this is called collateralized debt obligations. And they go from CDOs to CDO squared to CDO cubed. So they're securitizing, re-securitizing, re-securitizing, and so on until the amount of stuff out there that is linked to the actual physical house, it's many, many times bigger. So we're layering debt on debt on debt on debt. And finally, down at the very bottom, it's like Yertle the Turtle if you read Dr. Seuss. Down at the very bottom of this pile of turtles, there's one turtle who's living in a house. And supposedly his mortgage payments are going to service all of these turtles standing on top of him all the way up to the one on the very top. The whole system was designed to crash. It had to crash because we were layering so much debt on top of income that was not growing.
When you put it as simply as that, any 5-year-old actually who's familiar with Yertle the Turtle could have told you.